This week, what are our predictions for the RV and camping industry in 2025? We're going to look at all the different things coming for 2025, what we're doing, what the campground industry is doing, and we're going to give you some insights onto what that's going to look like. This is RV Miles. Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit blueox.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today. Welcome to episode number 346 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with our three boys, have been crisscrossing all over North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk everything RV and outdoors, from predictions that we can't really know are going to happen because we can't see into the future, but we're going to tell you our opinions anyway, from industry news to travel destinations and a whole lot more.
We are very excited to be back after a long break from news videos, from the podcast, from all sorts of stuff. We haven't been doing a whole lot of recording. We've been doing other sorts of work between mid-December and now, but it's nice to be back in front of the camera, in front of the microphone, and be here with y'all to talk about RVing.
We'll see how long my voice lasts. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the Black Tank, but boy, has this been a really long health month for me, and I am not alone. It does seem from coast to coast, we are all very, very sick right now. So if you are heading to the Florida RV Super Show, take care of yourself, get lots of rest, get up on those vitamins or whatever it is you do to keep your body healthy and strong, because it's going to be busy there. There's going to be a lot of people. And don't get me sick before I go on a cruise. That's right. All I'm saying.
Anywhere where you're going to be around people. I mean, I think that's why we're all going through sickness issues right now. We all visited family and everything. But like anywhere you're going to be around people. Wash your hands, cover your sneezes, folks.
Friends, just wash your hands in general.
There's a great
do it regardless if we're sick or not.
There's a great episode of Mythbusters. It's one of my favorite myths that they ever cover. It's not really a myth, but they look at how germs transfer between people. Oh. So they come up with like a fake liquid that can act as the germ, right? And it's black light visible. And they sit around, all the cast of Mythbusters sit around a dining room table and have a meal together. And they start the germ in one place. It's been a long time since I've saw it, but at the end of it, you see it just like, it looks like a war zone. It's everywhere except for around Carrie Byron, who is like a clean freak. And she's very careful about not touching other things, wiping hands, not touching her nose, not touching her eyes, all that sort of stuff. When they turn the black light on, it's just dark around her. So I've been thinking, like, I wanted the kids to watch that so they could see what washing your hands actually does.
Can you imagine what a kindergarten classroom must look like?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, I always hearken back to the first year that Jack was in school, and the number of emails I got about illnesses in the classroom, the number of things Jack brought home. And I was pregnant with Henry at the time. And I will always remember standing in line at the CVS to get his prescription for pink eye. And 2 down from us is his kindergarten teacher standing in line to get a prescription for pink eye. So I can only imagine if that is what it looked like with adults.
I know.
Although who are we to say that adults are any cleaner than kids? I mean, I've seen some of y'all in those bathrooms, ladies.
We
don't notice.
We're not crammed in a room playing with each other and stuff. And
wow. not gonna
Go
you
there.
just
But-
set me up and I'm gonna let that one go right by.
But we've all been getting sick, and our kids are homeschooled. I can't imagine what it's like for
can't.
people that aren't.
I can't. Anyway, that has nothing. Hopefully, that is not a sign of what is to come in 2025. We are all going to get this out of our system. We are going to take better care of ourselves and each other. We're going to get healthy. A little bit of sunshine and vitamin D down in Florida does a body good. I cannot wait to get there. Just have to get myself on that plane first. But there'll be a nice, warm Florida waiting for me at the end. So with this episode, we want to look a little bit into the future. We want to look at what we think we might see a little bit of in 2025. And that is going to be through 3 topics or 3 sections of the RV life. We're going to talk RV industry, campground industry, national parks, public lands. And we're using the data and the information that we have gathered through 2024, through the work that Jason has done on the RV Miles YouTube channel with the news video, or if you listen to the news videos when he puts them out here in the podcast, when he remembers, it's still a work in progress. We're both still remembering we want to do that. But we're going to take all of those and then conversations we've had with people in the industry and others who are a little bit more knowledgeable than us or dialed in different areas maybe than we are. And we're going to share that with you. Again, these are just our predictions and opinions. They're not gospel. They're not, don't take them as though this is absolute fact and this is going to happen. But I feel pretty confident that we can talk a little bit about what we're going to see. So the first one is I do want to start with the RV industry.
Yeah.
I think that is something that has been on a lot of people's minds. Everyone is still talking a lot about CARB and what's happening with motorhomes. I am still seeing articles and videos coming out about this. Part of that is because it's a hot topic and people want those clicks. Part of that is because there is information to update us all on. And part of that is sometimes it leaves me a little like, I don't know why you put this out. But
it's kind of like there's a confusing mess still.
Yes.
There's been a lot of clarity, and we've covered that a lot on some of the news roundups and stuff. But what I think it's going to do affecting the RV industry moving forward, particularly in California and those other states that sign on to California's
there are
laws.
6 total,
There's
right?
6 total for 2020. Well, there were 6 total for 2025. Oregon dropped out. New York was talking about it. I don't know if they did. I can't remember. But Oregon had just sort of pushed the can down to 2026, and other states were joining in 2026 and 2027. So in all 10 or 11 states by the end of 2027. So what I think we're going to see going forward, there's going to be motorhomes for sale in these states. There's going to be some big Class A motorhomes for sale in these states. It's going to be more expensive for certain types of motorhomes because the chassis manufacturers are going, or the RV manufacturers, either one is going to have to pay for the credits to get those chassis built. That's going to cost the end consumer money. What remains to be seen will be whether that consumer decides that money is worth it. Because what effectively this might do is cause those manufacturers to just not sell those units in those states because nobody's buying them because of the added cost. And what they might do instead is buy a pickup truck and a big fifth wheel, right? Or they might buy a gas motorhome instead of a diesel because Ford has the credits to sell their gas chassis. I just think the mix of the motorhomes sold in those states is going to change. And that might lead us to start seeing some different types of vehicles produced for those states. We might see more luxury gas motorhomes. Traditionally, the gas motorhomes, even the big ones, they're a little bit lighter and stuff, and they're generally sold to the mid-range buyer. And I think maybe we'll see some more luxury on the gas front. There might be some different things that we'll see on that end, but I think it's the number of people buying RVs and RVing in those states isn't going to change. Just how they do it might change.
Well, and typically motorhomes have always made up such a small percentage of the RV industry's overall RV sales. Not that that means they're any less or that they're not as nice as owning a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, but they are often not entry level for people into this. So
that percentage has been shrinking too, especially when it comes to Class A motorhomes. About 9% of RVs sold are motorhomes, and Class A's have been declining in that mix quite a bit.
And I think for a lot of us, as we go into RV show season, you see that reflected in some of your local RV shows. Now, you may not see that reflected at a big show like the Florida RV Super Show, or if you were to go out to Hershey. But I think if you go to your local RV show, you will see that reflected. I think last year when we were in Kansas City, there were maybe a handful of motorized
probably
RVs there.
6, 8.
Most of them being Class C's and Class B's.
There were a decent number of Class C's.
Yes, but you did not really see, I think there were one or two of those, Class A motorhomes.
I think there were 2 Class A's. And you might go to some other local. I mean, Kansas City's still a decent sized show.
Mm-hmm. It's a big show.
Go to some other ones. If we went to a show around here, we might not see a single motorhome.
Yeah. So I think that will have a little bit of impact on the industry. I don't think it will overall have some of the doom and gloom that has been predicted. Certainly, I think for a large swath of the RV community, this isn't really going to impact their ability to travel to those states, to enjoy the natural beauty that is in the 10 states that have signed on to this. It's really not a hill to, die on when it comes to your RV life. But I think that that's a nice way to kind of, we know we've got CARB coming with motorhomes and all of that is happening, but what is the overall health of the RV industry in 2025?
Is your truck riding rough and uncomfortable when you're towing your RV? Upgrade your truck's suspension with ease with Timbren SES. Timbren's innovative suspension system provides a smoother, more comfortable ride even on the toughest roads. Timbren SES is easy to install and requires no maintenance. It's the perfect solution for RV owners who demand the best out of their tow vehicle. Control body roll and sway, all while reducing sag and squat. Experience the difference with Timbren SES. Head over to Timbren.com, that's TIMBREN.com, and pick up a kit today. Your RV adventure awaits.
RV Miles is sponsored by RVPostings.com, your go-to platform for buying and selling RVs. Explore a wide range of RVs, from small pop-up campers to large diesel pushers. Find the perfect fit for your travel needs. With their user-friendly interface, you can easily navigate through their website for a seamless RV shopping experience. You can get comprehensive information about each RV, including photos, features, details, and pricing, and connect with sellers directly. No middlemen. And if you're selling your RV, you can list it on RVPostings.com and reach a targeted audience of RV buyers, ditching the tire kickers and the repetitive "is this still available" messages. It's a paid but affordable platform for sellers to post RVs for sale, so buyers can be sure that the seller is real and serious about selling. Whether you're buying or selling, RVPostings.com connects RV enthusiasts across the country. Get eyes on your RV with their Facebook buy and sell group with 163,000 members. All RVs posted on their website are posted to the group, as well as other sites like Oodle, Class, and American Listed. Whether you're buying or selling, start your journey at RVPostings.com.
What is the overall health of the RV industry in 2025 when we've seen some decline in sales, and yet at the same time, we have seen shipments go up throughout the fall and winter? It's been a lot of teeter-tottering with the industry.
The industry is probably going to just very mildly improve this year in the amount of money they're making and the number of units sold. One of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is, there's been this reduction in the number of units sold and the number of units produced. And then over the course of this last year, the number of units produced has been growing compared to 2023. But again, that mix is changing, not just in a reduction in motorhomes, but a reduction of fifth wheels, essentially a reduction in the more expensive units sold. So even though the industry might be producing a few more units than 2023, the actual money being brought in I don't have exact numbers. There's no way to know this, but might be smaller. And in fact, I mean, there are some ways to know it. We've seen the financial reports from the publicly traded RV manufacturers like Winnebago and Thor, and they have been really struggling. I do think 2025 will see some improvement on that front. Of course, that depends on the health of the overall economy and how people feel about their discretionary income, because RVs are a luxury item, and discretionary income really plays into the purchase of an RV. When people feel uncomfortable about the economy and what's happening with their money, they're not spending money on RVs. Winnebago has long been considered for decades a bellwether stock, meaning when Winnebago starts to slide, it's a bad sign for the overall economy. I think this is a time period where we can't count on just looking at Winnebago, because they've had a lot of their struggles and the RV industry struggles has related to this pandemic boom and following bust. Basically, we saw, if you averaged out the number of RVs purchased over the last 5 years, it would look a lot better than it does when you look at the big boom and bust. A lot of people just bought RVs sooner than they had expected to.
Well, and Winnebago too, being the parent company of Grand Design, the social discussion around Grand Design right now is still quite intense. And I think that there can be some of that has to be factored into what we saw in their most recent quarterly report. I think whether or not any of that shakes down to be as intense or as not intense as the conversation around Grand Design, the conversation is still there. So they are dealing with a public image crisis a little bit. I think we will see where 2025 goes for them as some of this starts to recede a little bit, and where they bounce.
Who knows?
Maybe
it will. Maybe it will get worse.
Yeah, it could get worse. I do think when it comes to the economy and where we're at, I think the first half of this year is going to be incredibly telling as to where we go with inflation in our country, where we start to feel with employment and, income, disposable income. I think the first 6 months are going to be incredibly telling as we roll, especially into the RV, the real heart of the RV season. That to me is sort of the real wild card in all of this for me.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of the same. My gut, and we're going to do our very best to keep as much of politics out of this discussion as possible. But of course, it is all tied together in some way or another. My gut is that price of eggs is not dropping anytime soon. Now, that is because there are other factors at play. We have to look. People put too much faith on what a president can either affects these things positively or negatively.
Yeah.
People put too much faith in what Trump is going to improve. People to put too much stock into what
Biden was going to be able to get done. Like these are, and having faith in, in your particular political leader, that's great.
Yeah.
Ish. At the same time, we will wait to see where a lot of this is going to land. And I do think that the Florida RV Super Show is also going to give us a little bit more of an idea as to where the industry's mind is at in 2025, because I think the level of innovation that we may or may not see at Tampa kind of tells us where the industry feels comfortable going.
Well, I do what we are seeing, and what has been sort of signaled by open house last fall, which is sort of kind of a precursor to this and what we're moving into. we went through this phase in 2023 and into early 2024 where this big trend we called decontenting, the horrible term.
Such a bad term.
Basically, it meant these things, there was so much competition of like adding a whole bunch of features that these things got so expensive, not just because of that. They got expensive for a lot of reasons. But manufacturers decided, okay, well, people want to pay less. So we're going to start removing features instead of just making them cheaper. We're going to start removing features from them. And they did some weird things by like calling them like just essentials only. And they had some names for these units. And what we're seeing now is a pushback from that. The customers that have the money to buy an RV right now, they want to buy something that's quality. They want to buy something that's going to last. They care a little bit more about that stuff, but there is competition again now. This reduction in sales over the last year and a half, or whatever it's been, is driving now the manufacturers to compete with each other a little bit more again. So we're seeing some new and interesting floor plans. Floor plans changes don't really cost a lot, right?
No, but they're difficult to figure out, as we have learned.
So we're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff happening. And I do think quality has improved over the course of this year. Is it ideal? No. But I do think quality has improved over the course of 2024 and will continue to improve over 2025 just by the very nature that there haven't been as many units produced and there's a little bit more time to get stuff done. And fix stuff and all that sort of stuff at the factory level.
Well, if I remember right, we were really hopeful when the term decontenting appeared, okay? Because we thought this is great. We're going to see the removal of some frivolous things.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, horrible name, really good intentions. I'm excited to see where this goes. And ultimately, a little bit of what ended up happening was it just got cheap.
We didn't remove frivolous because what we found out was the frivolous things didn't cost much.
Right. And so it just got cheap.
We removed windows and we removed power jacks and stuff.
Right. And so when we started seeing and being able to walk through a lot of these rigs last year in 2024, because I think that was the 2024 show was kind of the decontenting show,
it sure was, yeah.
That was the buzz. And when we started walking through them, and then throughout 2024, when we would see them, we would be like disappointed in some manufacturers because what they did was they just cheapened out. And you know what happens when you cheap out and someone buys a cheap RV? They are very, very unhappy.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
You got to build customers that come back.
Right. When you're using laminate and you're using pulp to put together a countertop that people are going to get wet, they're not going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
So I think what we're seeing now is the response to that.
Yeah. And I think
like frustration.
I think there's just this realization too that like you're not going to win on quantity. You have to you need to keep the prices up. Like just reducing the prices and keeping the margins real thin, you're not going to make a lot of money that way. A race to the bottom is not a way for an industry to make money.
No, and I think so. I believe in 2025 what we are going to see is I do believe destination trailers are going to play a big part of 2025. We've seen that. I do believe that is going to be a large part of the narrative. I anticipate seeing quite a few of those at the show here in a couple of weeks. And I think that the destination trailer is a really nice segue into starting to talk about the campground industry. So as we wrap up a little bit with the RV industry itself, I think that this year is really going to be framed in segments. I think it's really going to be about quarters for the industry this year and how the RVer response, because now we have a lot of people who own RVs. We are going to plateau. Like, it's time to level out, right? Like, we have a lot of people that are owning RVs. We have a lot of used RVs on the market right now. So competition, it's going to be about competition this year.
We're going to see a lot of manufacturers throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Do you like this new and interesting floor plan? Do you like this floor plan that RV Miles made? Do you like do you like all these decks and patios that we're putting on units? Do you like all these different things we're trying? There's going to be a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, and it'll be really great for us when we're at the Super Show to get to meet you, the consumer, and share the 37 RV Miles with you and walk you through it and talk about some of the decisions that we made. And then also, we had a luxury of bringing the boys with us when we saw the prototype, and they actually helped improve the rig. They were able, just random, we didn't ask.
Throwing kids in a bunk room really gives the manufacturer a quick lesson on how they're going to be used.
And they were going up to Henry and they said, Henry, show me what you're talking about here and show me what you need. And he was able to go and be like, I could really use a handle right here to get up easier into this bunk. Handle. So I do think that there is this listening to all the RVers. I like the idea that we're going to, even allow our youngest, the ones that we need to continue this trend when they become older and want to be RVers as well. We need to hear from them. We need to listen to them. We need to be listening to all voices. We need to make RVing more accessible. I wish we could see more ADA-friendly RVs out there.
Oh, yeah.
We need so much more of that because we need to bring everybody into this industry if this industry is going to continue to thrive at the level that it has been at.
Yeah, and I will say that this push for some of these big destination trailers, some of them being a little bit more towable than others. Some of them are fairly accessible or at least are very close to being accessible. And the manufacturer could just take a few extra steps, make that bathroom bigger. That's really probably what's going to come down to for a lot of people that need accessibility. But there are some options out there for sure. But most of them are on the motorhome front and are very, very expensive. So
absolutely, especially to even rigs that are sensory friendly and, friendly for children and adults with autism and things of that nature. How can we make these rigs so that, these parents and these caregivers are not doing all of this back end, reconfiguration to have that experience with their family?
You and I were just talking about this. That's one of the reasons a lot of people RV, because, people that have issues with severe food allergies, right?
Yeah.
They're traveling with their own kitchen. People that are in a wheelchair, a Class B van is probably something they've considered just for being their around town vehicle. And then they've got a restroom with them and all that sort of stuff. RVing actually is a big piece of accessibility, all the different types of accessibility out there.
Yeah. I mean, as one who just recently was diagnosed with a condition that requires some major food allergy changes, having that option now in the RV to be able to travel, because it is becoming incredibly difficult now for me to enjoy eating out because there are just things I can't trust now. And so having that option is so comforting to me that thing I love, I will be able to continue and I will be able to take care of myself and enjoy that. Probably this trip we take probably this year will probably be the best that I will have felt in a very, very long time.
This episode sponsored by our friends over at rvmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. If you want to get a new mattress for your RV, really consider it. Get a good night's sleep in your RV. It's why you bought an RV in the first place. rvmattress.com offers mattresses that are made in their factory in Arizona, shipped to you wherever you are. They're toxin-free, 120-night sleep trial. We have them in both of our RVs and in our home because they're a real mattress manufacturer. Brooklyn Bedding makes all kinds of mattresses not just RV mattresses. They're real mattresses for your RV instead of an RV specific mattress, but you can get real mattresses in all the weird different sizes that RV manufacturers make those platforms for, the different thicknesses, the different widths, the different bunk sizes, all of it. And through us, you get 30% off. It's the best deal they offer. You go to rvmattress.com/RV miles and use the code RV miles at checkout, and you're going to get 30% off and get that mattress shipped to you wherever you are in the country, including a campground. And you just open it up and let it expand, and you're off to the races. rvmattress.com/RV miles with code RV miles at checkout for 30% off.
I think we have to talk about financial accessibility, which again leads into the campground industry. So we have talked a lot, and I think we've been pretty vocal about our concern with the rising cost of the campground industry from a private standpoint, even from the state park standpoint, and the concern that we have had recently over pricing out a lot of potential RVers and campers. I think that 2025 may end up, if I'm reading the tea leaves, my prediction is that 2025 is going to see a bit of a reckoning for the campground industry. I think that we have hit the ceiling on what we are all willing to pay.
We've heard rumblings of this. I talked about on a news video maybe a month and a half ago about Jellystone's convention. There was an article written about their convention, which was like streamed online. And one of their executives said essentially that I think we've hit the ceiling of what people are willing to pay. That article that was written about that has been taken down since.
It has been removed.
Because somebody from a Jellystone competitor reached out to me and asked me where I found that, and I tried to find it, and I was like, "Oh, I had the link still," and the link said article not found. But
we didn't keep a good enough receipt.
Will we see like the rack rates decrease substantially? I don't think so.
No.
I think what we'll see is what we're seeing at places like McDonald's. The prices are still the same, but they're offering more discounts.
You gotta get that app.
If you get that app. You keep coming back to them, right?
You gotta keep coming back. You get that 25% off.
You can now eat at McDonald's a little bit more affordably than you could before, even though the rack price is still the same. I think we're going to see more seasonal discounts at campgrounds. I think we're going to see more special offers and that type of thing. And I think we're not going to see the increases this year that we have seen every year over the past few years. We've seen those rack rates increase. I don't see that we'll see much of that this year. But I do think we're going to continue, because the public campground sector, the government run campgrounds, because they are always behind on this.
Yeah.
I do think we're going to continue to see raises.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that with what is happening in New Mexico with their camping pass. They have raised that. We have seen that with what's going on with some LVTA out in, I believe, was that Arizona? What was that?
California and Arizona.
Both. We're seeing that. I do think that those are going to go a little bit. I do think, though, that some of these state park campgrounds have reached a threshold that, personally speaking, I was not willing to pay, looking at you, Utah, because they are sitting right below where an RV resort is sitting, almost within the same area.
Yeah.
And it's very nice, whether we all want to admit it or not. It is very nice to have those hookups when you are sitting somewhere for a week with 3 kids.
The problems all feed on each other, though, right? So when the private campgrounds get so expensive, more people are willing to sacrifice having that sewer hookup and the 50 amp to go to a public campground
or
that
have
only
a
has certain.
I mean, speaking from a family standpoint, I think if it was just you and I, we might feel a little bit different about that. But when we are, knowing that for us, when we travel, we have work days. We have work days.
Those amenities,
those are
be
days
very
in the campground.
attractive.
Yeah,
but people are willing to sacrifice them if the price is too high. And then government-run campgrounds respond by increasing their prices. And they're driven to increase their prices often by a push from the campground industry, or saying, hey, you can't compete with us so cheaply. And there are some states that even have laws about that. They're not allowed to undercut local businesses. So what does that do? Well, then that causes more people to consider boondocking. And when more people are boondocking, well, then we have an issue with too many people boondocking in certain areas where the government goes in and they cut down on the availability of that. And they start to make reserved boondocking that's paid, and it's essentially a campsite.
Yeah.
And it all feeds into itself and just keeps things becoming more and more expensive. It's not as simple as just keep the prices low.
Do I think, and this is something I'm not quite sure where I'm going to land on this, but I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think we will see an increase or decrease in the small business run campground? I am leaning towards a decrease, and I'll give my really brief reason why, and then I would love to see what you think about that. But it is because I think that they are not willing, whichever one you want to pick, to meet the level of care at these private RV campgrounds that they would need to do in order to justify the cost that they are now asking for at these campgrounds. It is incredibly expensive to upgrade in campgrounds. And I know that for some, that, especially small business owners, that's not possible. But I think that that is hurting them because they cannot do that.
Well, what we've seen over the past few years is a lot of private equity money going into campgrounds. And what happens often, instead of building a new campground, which is very, very hard to do because you have to get lots of approvals, and lots of municipalities just don't want them. The locals don't want them because they think they're going to turn into trailer parks, for lack of a better term. Look, I lived in a trailer park when I was a kid. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, it was a fantastic place. But there's the stigma that this is going to be, whether it's now or 40 years from now, that.
Well, there's a stigma in general about housing, which I would love to see us do away with. Someone living in an apartment is no less.
And full-time RVing.
They are just as much as the person who owns a house.
There is a challenge in getting a new campground built. So what happens is all this private equity money goes into buying rundown campgrounds, spending millions of dollars and improving them and making them very expensive. So then we get rid of the more affordable places. And what we're not seeing is, the type of campground that we used to see in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, where it is kind of akin to a state park in a lot of ways, but maybe also has a sewer hookup and has a few little amenities, maybe has a pool.
Fort Wilderness, maybe.
Lots of different lots of those places are going to the wayside to become RV resorts. And my hope is that we will eventually see more of those again, because I think you can charge less for those and spend less millions of dollars on those to build them. It's the private equity companies that come in and build these campgrounds, improve these campgrounds, they see it as land rental, essentially. They see it as, I come in and spend all this money on this really nice RV resort. But if this goes sour in 20 years, this is still a really valuable piece of land that I can sell off because it's only going to grow in value.
When I think about some of the places that we stayed at in 2022, 23, and 24, some of those were return destinations. And I think about what we paid for them in 2018, 2019, even some a little bit in 2020. Those are the ones that I sit and go, you're not going to make it through this when we all level out if you continue to charge $70, $80 a night for a dirt strip where I'm opening my door and my neighbor is right there and their sewer hookup is right next to my picnic table. You're not going to make this, as we transition into a more level return to as we continue with our post-pandemic RV life. Those are really the ones I'm thinking about. And those are the ones I think within the industry that we might be in jeopardy of losing. I think the ones where, like, talking about the Jellystones or the franchised ones, the ones that have that corporate money behind them, I do believe that they have reached a ceiling. I think they know that. And I think that they're going to offset it by creating a McDonald's app.
Just like we talked about in the RV industry, I think it's all about the mix. Like, we love a really nice, expensive, fancy RV resort with all the amenities. That's a treat. That's something that we do very occasionally. And we enjoy it when we do, but that's not the majority of our travels by any means, or at least we don't want it to be the majority of our travels.
I want it to feel removed. Some of my fondest memories are boondocking times or some of the gorgeous state parks and Army. It is long been known that we are lovers of those Army Corps of Engineer campgrounds. That will always be the first thing I look for. And then I have a list where I go after that. It's Army Corps of Engineer is always the first campground I look for in an area. And then we go down from there. Yeah. So that, I think, again, a good segue, talking about Army Corps of Engineers, I think is a really good segue then into talking about our national parks and our public lands. If you have checked the RVmiles.com recently or the RV Miles YouTube channel, you know that even though Jason was supposed to be taking some time off, like it often happens with news, the Explorers Act. Explore. I want to say, I know.
It's an acronym for something.
I know. And I want to say Explorers Act, but the Explore Act, which we have all been waiting for, some more than others.
It's been
because of the national, the filming on public lands.
It's been in the works in versions of it. It's essentially a compilation of 12 bills. I think 12, maybe
something like that
all came together back early this year. But those bills had been in the work for a while, and then they came together early last year, and then finally, it's all passed.
So that just recently, but that recently just came down to go to Biden's desk.
Biden hasn't signed it yet, but it was just sent to him like on the 30th. So
get that pen out, buddy.
So the Explore Act is going to change the way a lot of these government agencies work together. They're going to be required to work together a little bit more. And then just in general, we're going to see some issues with some of the stuff that's happening in some of these states where they're suing the federal government over the right to access land. The state of Utah and several other states have joined on to say, hey, we want some of this federal land that you're holding back. And then, we're going to have arguments over what national monuments can be formed and the size of national monuments, like we had over the course of the last several administrations in the White House. So there's going to be a lot of sort of back and forth and arguments over public lands and who gets to control them in the coming years.
Lots and lots of fireworks. So it's going to be really important to stay up on the news that's happening within our public lands. So we invite you to join us every single month over on the RV Miles YouTube channel or the America's National Parks podcast, because Jason does a news from the parks and he takes that whole month's worth of news and he condenses it down into something that we can all access, that we can become more educated on when it comes to our national parks and our public lands. So again, that's over on YouTube. That's on the America's National Parks podcast, which is on a break until February. It is getting a little bit of a glow up right now. And when it returns, it might even have a new little name associated with it and a few other little things. So really important that you go over and just subscribe to that podcast wherever you subscribe to podcasts, and then join us because, hold on to your butts, everybody. I think 2025 and beyond into 2026 even, we're going to start to see a lot of shifting and a lot of back and forth when it comes to the future of our public lands. And so it's just really important that we all stay up to date on that. All right, it is time to shift gears here and check in on the level of our tanks. And as always, our Fresh Tank Black Tank is sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. And I am sure you are aware of this, but we want to make sure you're extra aware of it. They're giving away an RV. Not like some accessories for the RV, not half of an RV. They're giving away an Alliance Delta travel trailer. So if you want to enter in to win, you have all the way going through up until May. You can go to the link down below in the description or the show notes for this episode. Click on that. No purchase necessary to enter. There will be other ways that you can earn more entries, but the first entry, free, just need to fill out a survey. That's it. Not going to take a lot of time. And you could walk away with a free RV. And wouldn't it be awesome if the person who won it was part of the RV Miles community?
Right.
And you bring that thing on down to homecoming in September and we can all take a tour of it. That would be amazing. So head on over to the link. We're going to have that down in the description and the show notes. And you might be the winner of a Alliance Delta travel trailer. Okay, Jace, what is in your black tank this week?
So there's a company out there. I'm not sure if they're new or not. I don't have any experience with them, and I hadn't heard of them before. And maybe somebody from them is listening. I don't know.
Because we want to talk to you if you are.
It's called, I believe it's called RV Super Shows. That's their name, is RV Super Shows.
Okay. All right.
And they are a company that produces RV shows around the country. It used to be Good Sam, which is owned by Camping World, had sort of the stranglehold on these, and they just decided,
they did.
We're going to stop doing them, and we're just going to have, we're just going to sell RVs at Camping World.
Yeah.
So, but now there are other companies that are organizing this type of event, and these are sort of the smaller RV shows that you see around the country. And this company has, I don't know, like 15 of them.
Like, I would even say some of the smaller. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing, one of them is here.
4 or 5 dealer shows,
Yeah.
situation. And yeah, one of them is here. And, so we live in an area that's called the Quad Cities. It's right on the Iowa-Illinois border. And that's what everybody knows it by, right? Okay.
Mhm.
It's actually 5 cities and
Don't open that can of worms. Just know that there are multiple cities involved in this conversation.
It's 5 cities and some ancillary like communities. And we're on the border of Iowa and Illinois. So some of the community is in Iowa and some of it is in Illinois. So if I were to host an RV show here,
Mhm.
I would call it the Quad Cities RV Show,
Yep.
right?
Yes, that's
but
very encompassing of the area.
But this company is hosting an RV show, and they're calling it the Davenport RV Show. Fine. Davenport's the largest of the Quad Cities. It's a well-known name of a town.
I mean, it could be confused that we're all going to go see a bunch of Davenports, but that's, that's fine.
Well, that's not the confusing part, though, because the Davenport RV Show is being held in East Moline,
Which is in Illinois.
which is in an
just to be clear.
entirely different state.
So,
And anybody around here who would be, I would assume, the main clientele for this RV show
is having a
gonna be
WTF moment.
extremely confused when they're like, "Oh, I thought I was going to Davenport today, but I'm going to East Moline."
And let me tell you, people around here, it's a big deal for them to cross the river.
It is.
Okay. That is like saying,
But
I got to drive
depending
45
on-
minutes to get there. And it's literally like they have to drive an extra
But
5
say
minutes
you live
across the
in,
river.
say you live in like Iowa City, which is like 50 minutes from Davenport.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, I'm going to go to that Davenport RV show," and you get ready to go to that day, and you go pull up the
But
address.
then
and you're
I'd be like, hold up,
"Oh,
friend.
it's another half-hour drive."
If any of my Iowa City friends are driving in for this, friends, go to Des Moines. Like, just go to Des Moines. Like, seriously.
I have no idea. It might be a great show. We have some dealer friends that are going to be there. Bish is going to be there. It could be great. I don't know.
It could be, but these are really community shows.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying, look, Iowa City, you're welcome. You can be part of the community. You have a Trader Joe's. You're welcome. But like, if you're making a long distance drive for something and an hour, I would say try to pick a show where it's going to be a little bit more than just community led right? If that
I
makes
think
sense.
you don't realize how many people drive here just to go to like Costco.
I mean, those hot
Club
dogs,
and-
look, that $1.50 hot dog soda, you drive an hour for that. I get it. That chicken bake, don't bake itself.
Just change the name to the Quad City. I commented this along with several other people on their Facebook post about it. They didn't respond to anybody, but like
They didn't respond.
it's one of those
Shocking.
weird things where it's like you're clearly completely out of touch with this community. Clearly, somebody just opened up, a listing of the populations of towns nearby and picked the biggest one.
Those city slickers done coming up in here, messing with our RV show.
I get if you're like outside of Chicago in the suburb and you call it the Chicago RV show. That makes sense. This is not that.
This is Arlington Heights. This is not. All right. What is in your fresh tank this
My
week?
fresh tank is a great idea from our good friend Brian, who's been part of the RV Miles community for a long time and is a mile marker member. Great guy. And
so great.
It's
Both
been
of
very
them.
supportive, Brian and Deanna. He had a great idea for a RV centric New Year's resolution. And I think he may have said that this was his resolution for last year, but he made a post about this in the RV Miles Facebook group. And that resolution is review every campground you visit this year. Review it on the review listing websites, whether you use Campendium or whether you use Campground Reviews, whether you just use Google or send it to all the places.
The RV Miles
Let
Facebook
people know
group.
in the Facebook group
Yes.
as well. But actually review the campground, because there's a tight-knit community of people that go and they review all the campgrounds they go to. And so many of us rely on those reviews when we're choosing the campground that we go to. And we all, including the two of us, need to be better about actually going on these websites and writing a physical review so people can know the information.
Well, I would say we do have a review. It lives with inside this podcast.
But you know what?
We
What's
do
actually
review
really
every
great
campground we
about,
go to, but it does live inside the ecosystem of the podcast.
But most of these sites also allow you to link a video too. So if we were smart, we would be like, here's a short little written review and link to the video.
First off, you go do that, because that is a level of
We need
promoting that you have never been comfortable with. You have never been one who likes to use those sites to drive traffic.
But
to
they're
what we're
specifically
doing.
asking for it there.
But,
I wouldn't want to be doing that if it was like not somebody that was asking for it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, but yeah, that for sure. I mean, obviously we failed when you said if we were smart, and I think we have proven that time and time again that we're not very smart business people when it comes to self-promotion of what we do. So
I do want to try to do more reviewing of the campgrounds on the websites that we visit this year. So thanks, Brian, for that idea. And
great
idea. Should latch on to that as well.
Absolutely.
What's in your black tank this week?
Bronchial infection. I'm sick. I can't get better. I'm so frustrated. So I have been it is Friday, January 3rd. I have officially been sick now for a month, nonstop. So it was strep, went on antibiotics for that. While I was on antibiotics for that, developed this cough that just would not let go, really painful in the chest, needles in the chest, just hacking, like just coughing fits. Couldn't get it to go. Thought maybe, this is just hanging on from strep, but the antibiotics will kick it. Didn't really kick it. Finally went and saw the doctor yesterday. Thought I was going to walk in and be told I had walking pneumonia, because that is also going around. Thankfully,
Everything's going around. Strep,
everything, RSV. I mean, we know
norovirus,
y'all,
COVID outbreak.
please, with your littles, please be careful. We know so many right now with little babies, like under 2, that have RSV right now. Like it's just, there's a lot of gunk going around, and I said it at the top of the show, got to keep those hands washed. We need to do what we can to self-care and take care of ourselves. And I will be in a full-on bubble bodysuit at the Florida RV Super Show, because come heck or high water, I will be getting on that boat afterwards. And so I am now on my second round of antibiotics, another 10-day dose I will have spent by the time it is done. 20 days on antibiotics out of like 36 days or something. I've also been given a big old blast of prednisone, of steroids to try and ease what's going on in my chest.
If you're feeling some of these symptoms,
stay home.
Stay home, but also get it treated. Like,
don't be like Abby, who I probably should have.
All of these things, the strep, the RSV, they might seem like a cold at first, and then you're a week into it, and you're like, "Oh, I still have this cold. It's not a cold."
Yeah,
go get it treated, especially if it's a bacterial infection. Just go, even if you're out on the road, wherever you are, go to.
And I really thought too, because I was on antibiotics when this all started, I thought I thought it was just sort of hanging on after strep.
Yeah.
And I thought that the antibiotic would kind of ease it, and it didn't. And I'm telling you, this wasn't responding to anything. Cough drops, any sort of cough suppressant, steam. I was drinking a lot of tea. Y'all know I'm really into the tea now, thanks to strep and this cold and flu season. Nothing. 9 o'clock would hit. I've been sleeping on the couch for a week and a half because I need to be elevated.
It's crazy that you got an infection while on antibiotics,
and so
essentially.
The antibiotic I'm on now is different than the antibiotic that they use to treat strep, because now we're treating an infection in my bronchial. So don't assume that just because you've gone through the one thing and it was treated, that if something else like I did, don't be Abby, that it's going to take care of that, because then you end up in, messaging your doctor, and your doctor's like, that's not really like a after of strep, but this doesn't really happen. You should probably go be seen. And then you end up on another round of antibiotics. So please take care of yourself. We know so many people from coast to coast right now that are just so sick. The hospitals are overwhelmed here in our area.
Somebody posted on Facebook local that they went to the ER yesterday, and it was a 10-hour wait, and the beds are all
for the illness that's one of the many.
People to another hospital and all
flu,
that sort of
COVID,
stuff.
RSVP, bronchial infections, walking pneumonia. I mean,
RSVP.
Did I just say we're not cutting it? Keep it. We're not cutting it.
Yes.
If you end up with an RSVP.
I've never been afflicted with RSVP. It's usually something I forget to do.
I will say, yes, I'm notorious for not getting RSVP. Oh, gosh, it's been a really long day. Fun fact, we're re-recording this section.
Yeah.
After many hours away from it.
If the lighting looks different or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be witty for a second time.
The memory card filled and the sound cut out for this last section, so we're re-recording.
We're re-recording.
So speaking of, what is in your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank is, Jason and I have picked our 2025 cookbook. This is something we started last year where we just picked a cookbook, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun if when we had the time, we just picked some recipes out of here and we just kind of cook our way through this cookbook. Yeah. Last year, you might remember that we picked the Disney Parks cookbook. It was 101 recipes. By 12/31/24, we had cooked 23 of them, maybe at the most.
Don't feel like you need to cook every. That was the mistake we made. We thought, well, we're going to cook this. But that's crazy to think that you're going to cook over 2 recipes a week. First of all, of a Disney Parks cookbook, because there's some stuff in there. But there's going to be any cookbook you buy, there are going to be some things that you don't want. Don't force yourself to do those.
You make a resolution, or you make a goal or a plan. I like to call them plans. Resolution just is a word that feels really heavy to me. But if you make a plan to want to, kind of eat better, take a little bit better care, that's not the cookbook you want in your house.
No,
and it's just not, because everything.
Well, I feel like finishing monumental tasks like that is it's just something I don't feel like I need to saddle myself with.
Fair.
I would rather finish tasks that are necessities.
So we took life into account a little bit more. I have recently been diagnosed with a condition that needs me to eliminate gluten completely. And then I have to really step back away from things like dairy and refined sugars, things that are really inflammatory.
Things that we should all be stepping
Things
away
we all
from.
should. But for some of us, it doesn't need to be as intense as, the reaction to eating it won't be the same reaction that I'm going to have if I ingest those things. So we picked Danielle Walker. I've talked about her before, againstallgrains.com or daniellewalker.com. I really love her cookbooks. As I have been on this journey of sort of refusing to see the writing on the wall. I have come back to her time and time again. But I picked, and Jason picked as well, her Make It Easy cookbook, which I actually fresh tanked back in the fall. And that's really the main reason why we picked it, because this is like a meal prepping cookbook. So there are 4 different types of meal preppers you could be in there. And what she does is she walks you through 16 weeks of planned out meals. We're 4 meals a week. And then what she calls like a back pocket meal, which is just using stuff you already have in your pantry, nothing extra. And she lays it all out so that you, if you want, you can be 4 different types of prepper at the beginning of the week. And I know for a lot of RVers, especially people who go out for the weekends or go out for a couple weeks at a time, they like to do a lot of meal prep before
Yeah, it's not
they
just
go.
meal planning, it's meal prepping.
prepping.
So pre-making some things
Yes.
and being able to, once you get to the campground, quickly put it
And
together.
double batching some things too, so that you always have a couple of meals in your freezer for those nights when you're just like, I really don't want to cook. And for those people, and we've talked about this, why RVing really allows people with sensitivities to food the option to still go out and travel and then have their kitchen at home. And it is really a struggle to be like, I don't know what to eat and I'm so burnt out. And so if you can have a couple of things up in your freezer when you know that maybe eating out is even more daunting to think about, I love the idea of this. And so we both felt like this was a cookbook that is really RV friendly.
And it's not just something that is just for people that have sensitivities like that. I mean, it's for everybody.
Yeah, like this is, it's minimal ingredients, which over the years, she has really figured out a way to have recipes. In her first book, it's like if you didn't have like 57,000 things to make that one thing, it wasn't going to happen. She's really learned, I think this is her 5th or 6th cookbook now, how to dial that down to just a few really simple ingredients, mainstays that we all have, and create really delicious, gluten-free, grain-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free dishes. And so this is our cookbook for the year. And we thought, how fun is this? Because it's really RV, we feel like it's really RV focused. Why don't we invite the mile marker community to do this with us? So we put out a call in the group yesterday to invite people in the group to cook in 2025 with us through this Make It Easy. No pressure, no requirement to finish the book, nothing.
Actually, probably be best if several people do different recipes and we can all find out which ones we like.
Tell me which one's good before I make it. But so we have several people in the group that throughout 2025, we're all going to cook in this book together. This is another one of those kind of community things that we've talked about. And so we're going to cook in the book together. We're going to share our thoughts on the recipes and some pictures. And we're going to talk about when we did cook this. Were we in the RV? Were we at home? For us, when we're out for 7 weeks, I really think that this cookbook is going to help us stay on track and help me stay healthy while we're out there. So
yeah, I mean, I think we're not gonna actually prep the whole 7 weeks, but like,
oh god, but I can prep them in the RV.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the beauty of
if we can have like the first week ready to go, like at least part of it.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a great sort of kickoff, especially because that first week is a lot of heavy travel, right?
A lot of heavy travel. So I'm excited about this. If you're a mile marker member or you want to take advantage of that free 1-month trial and become a member and join us as we cook through this year's cookbook, I think this is something that's going to stick around throughout the years. And maybe we'll get to a point where we all suggest and vote or something like that. How fun would that be? So I'm excited for that. And I'm just really thankful to see a cookbook like this because it has inspired me and we're going to talk about this. I know we had alluded that we were going to go through some things of 2024 that we were really excited about and then talk about RV miles in 2025. Well, this episode is run very long. So we're actually going to switch that and push it over into our detour episode, which is the podcast that we do for mile marker members after we do this one. So if you want to come and hear that and you're not a mile marker member yet, I'll say it one more time and I promise I won't say it again. You can get a free 1-month trial. You can come over and join us in the mile marker community. You can access this detour episode we're going to do and then all of our past episodes, everything that's going on in the community. It will all be open to you to explore and find out if this is a place you would like to hang out in for a while and support the work we're doing at RV Miles. So That's it.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Boy, it feels like we've been here before. Hey, if you're enjoying RV Miles, like we ask every week, if you wouldn't mind sharing this episode or maybe one of your past favorite episodes with your community, that would be awesome. That helps us reach more people and bring RV Miles either as podcast listeners through their favorite podcast app or on YouTube at the RV Miles Podcast YouTube channel. Either way, we're always so thrilled when we get to interact with not only you, the longtime listener, but a new listener as well. And of course, RV Miles is all across social media, so you should check that out. Facebook, Instagram, and not all across. We're really only on 3 platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We don't have a bandwidth for anything else. You should come join us over there. We're going to have lots of updates on where you can meet us during the RV Super Show if you are going to Tampa. Also, you're all going to get this episode on Sunday, January 5th. And then on Monday, January 6th, we are hosting a live stream over on the RV Miles YouTube channel. And that is going to be open to everyone. Usually our live streams, we do once a month for Mile Marker members. Every once in a while, we like to open it up to the entire community. So we are going to have a 2025 kickoff party. It's also right before we leave for Tampa. So there's going to be lots of opportunities for us to hang out, talk, answer questions. The amount of questions we have about the Sabre, we're going to end up probably doing a whole episode about that, but you could ask us live and we'll be on the spot and we'll answer them there too. So come and join us. I believe it starts at, I do this every time, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7.
9876.
9876.
Yeah.
Over on YouTube. So go over there and join us. All right. Thank you, friends. Happy 2025 to you. We cannot wait for this new year ahead of us, but please stay healthy, stay hydrated. We'll see some of you in Tampa and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.